Family relationships are some of the most rewarding and challenging connection we'll ever have. Misunderstanding, unmet expectation, and broken trust can leave deep wounds if not addressed. But what if there was a guide to navigate these challenges? Well, today I'm sharing 10 powerful axioms or wisdom sayings that can transform how you approach family conflicts. Whether you're dealing with trust issues, communication breakdowns, or setting boundaries, these axioms will give you the tools to rebuild and strengthen your relationships. These 10 axioms are based out of a court case of a mother who took her son to court because the son would not repay the money back to the mother. I reacted to this case, so I prepare a link. I'll provide a link below here for you to link on both the court cases and my reaction to this court case. And in a summary, the mother lends her son money to fix his car, but things spiral out of control when he ends up in jail, and his sister steals the car title, and then she sold the car for her own purposes and take the money for her own purposes. This isn't just about loan, it's about a deeper family dynamics, accountability, and emotional toll of unmet expectation. And so these 10 axioms speak to this family dynamic, and my heart longs to help families like this. And so if there's families out there that are struggling in their relationship because they're not able to communicate, these 10 axioms will help you provide a platform for you to communicate and save your relationship and your family. So let's dive right into it. Axiom number 1. Trust is built slowly but broken instantly. Trust is built slowly but broken instantly. Let me explain. Trust is the cornerstone of any relationship, and its absence leaves room for conflict and resentment. And this is what happens when children grow older and parents are trying to navigate that relationship without trust. When trust is broken, then relationships will be broken. In this case, the mother's trust in her son was shattered due to unmet obligations, creating a ripple effect of betrayal within the family. The whole family is affected. Well, there's a Bible verse that says in Proverbs 11, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity." This verse emphasizes the importance of integrity in relationship. Trust is built on consistent honesty and uprightness, but betrayal or duplicity can shatter the foundation of trust and destroy relationships. For the mother and the son in this situation, rebuilding trust requires both parties to act with integrity and transparency moving forward. Furthermore, trust in this case is best built in a framework of accountability. Accountability ensures both parties to stay committed, whether it's a mentor or a counselor or a pastor or a spiritual leader, family or a family meeting. Axiom number 2. Unspoken expectations breed disappointment. Unspoken expectations breed disappointments. Now, miscommunication often arises when expectations are not explicitly discussed. The mother may have assumed payment while the son may not have prioritized it. Clear agreements can prevent misunderstanding, and this is so easily be done within a family relationship because we grow up with one another in the family context, and sometimes the line of not communicating your expectation we sometimes or most often forget. Now, unspoken expectation are one of the most common cause of disappointment in relationship. Miscommunication happens when assumptions are made without explicit agreements. Amos, in the scripture, Amos 3:3, it asks the question. It says, "Do two walk together unless they have agreed to do so?" The answer is clear. Successful relationships require alignment, which comes through communication. Let's explore one practical step. Here's an action for the mother and son. This mother and son should sit down for an honest, judgment-free discussion. the mother can share her feelings and clarify her assumption about payment, while the son can explain his perspective on the situation. Now, often family member needs help from other family members. When it comes to finance, in our family, the most important is to make sure we communicate what we desire. If we desire a payment from that family member, then we sit down, either write out the agreement or get a third person to sit down with you and plan out how that money should be repaid back. Why that is important is that your expectation and that family member's expectation becomes very clear. Here comes axiom number 3. Responsibility is the price of independence. Let me say that again. Responsibility is the price of independence. The son's, in this case, the son's desire for autonomy comes with the need to be accountable. Independence without responsibility creates chaos. It blurs the line in relationship, as seen in the legal and financial issues stemming from his action. Now, Galatians 5, that one short verse there, it says, for each one should carry their own load. And Paul is talking about responsibility for those to go and find a job and care for yourself. Now, to help the son embrace the responsibility that comes with independence, here are 3 simple plans. Number 1, reflect on the connection between freedom and accountability. Here's some actions. Have an open conversation about how autonomy requires owning the outcomes of one's decisions, whether positive or negative. And I think parents should have that conversation with their children earlier on, the better for that relationship. Reflect on that connection between freedom and accountability. Number 2, develop a responsibility framework. And I think these are habits that you need to bring forth to the attention of your children as they grow. Action: help your child create a clear plan to handle legal or financial obligations. This could include budgeting, seeking professional advice, or setting up a repayment schedule, as this mother should have done. Number 3, build accountability structures. And I think that would really help. That would have helped in this relationship. The action is this: establish regular check-ins with a trusted mentor, family member, or financial advisor, in this case, to ensure that your child or this son remains on track. Galatians 6:5 reminds us that true independence comes with carrying our own load. By reflecting on this road, create a plan and staying accountable, the son can embrace his autonomy in a way that fosters trust and stability in his relationship. Independence isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about owning it. Here goes axiom number 4. Family roles should evolve and not stagnate. Family roles should evolve, not stagnate. When family members remain locked in fixed roles, example, for this mother and son, the rescuer, the mother, and the dependent, the son, dysfunction will persist. The mother must transition from an enabler to boundary setter, while the son must grow into a self-reliant role. One of my favorite scripture or portions of scripture, but I'll just quote one, is in the Ecclesiastic 3. And verse 1 will help us understand this axiom. And it says, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And for family roles, parents and children, you have to understand the season of time that you're in. And your roles then begin to grow. There are 3 practical solutions that could help, not only with this case, but with all those who are struggling with family dynamics like this one. Redefine roles through open communication and action. Hold a family meeting to openly discuss how each person's role within the family has remained static and why changes is necessary. For example, the mother could express her need to step back from the role of constant rescuer. Just sit down and talk to her son, while encouraging the son to take responsibility for his action. And I think young men like this young man will love to hear that. Will love to hear their parents, the father. I wish the father was involved in this case, But the mother to be able to say, look, son, I raised you up. You have abilities, you have strength. I could help you with your weaknesses, but it's time for me to pull back, and it's time for you to take full responsibility. So that's number one. Number two, establish clear boundaries. There has to be clear boundaries that you need to talk about with your children. The mother should clearly, for example, define what support she is willing to provide and what falls outside her boundaries. And I think her husband tried to encourage the mother, in this case, not to provide the total amount that the son was asking for. But the mother went ahead. She just couldn't help herself. The son should be encouraged to respect these boundaries. And this is where the new respect line would be, while developing self-reliance, where your respect to your parents is based on these boundaries that you now establish together. For example, instead of providing financial bailouts all the time, the mother could offer advice or connections to resources that help the son address his issues independently. And it's so easy to for children to ask their parents, because all their lives their parents would step up. But there's a time where you need to seek to set that boundary, parents, for the sake of your children, so that they can become mature adult, and the future will be brighter. Number three, encourage personal growth and independence, and parents should do that. Parents should encourage personal growth and independence among their children, and it's not too late to start. Axiom number 5: betrayal is a symptom, not the cause. Let me say that again. Betrayal is a symptom, not the cause. Let me explain. In this story, in this family dynamic, acts like the sister stealing the car title stem from a deeper relational fractures. Understanding and addressing these root causes is crucial to healing the family dynamic. I love the scripture in James 4, which says, "What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desire that battle within you?" And we all grow, and our desires grow, and they battle within us, and it comes out. In this case, not a very nice way. Now, there are 3 practical solutions to this case in this family dynamic, for this family dynamic. Number 1, identify the root cause of the betrayal. Now, in this way, you conduct a family discussion or a mediation session to uncover unresolved conflicts, unmet needs, or past grievances that may have led to the betrayal. Example, the sister's theft of the car title might stem from feelings of financial insecurity or resentment. Understanding her motivation can help address the root issues rather than just the symptom. James 4 emphasized that conflict often arise from deeper internal struggles. Identifying these struggles is the first step to healing. Number 2 is foster open and honest communication. Create a safe space where family members can express their feelings without fear or judgment or relations. When our boys were younger, in our dinner time, those were the times where it was safe for family members to share what has happened at school, what has happened in their lives. And it's a time of no judgment, no punishment, and no discipline. We can talk about an issue with them later individually, but it's a time where they can bring those issues that they're going through, those desires that they're struggling with. For example, in this case, the family dynamic here, use a structured format. If for this adult family, they need a structured format such as each person having an uninterrupted time to speak to ensure everyone is heard. And open communication, that's the benefit when you have this safe places where open communication helps clarify misunderstanding and rebuild trust over time. Now, when desires and emotions are expressed openly, the battles within can be brought to light and addressed constructively. Number 3 is seek reconciliation through forgiveness and actionable steps. Encourage family members to participate in forgiveness while taking tangible steps to repair the relationship, such as agreeing to new boundaries or seeking counseling. This is one thing that my wife and I um, were very aware of, is for us to, when we do make mistake, that we ask forgiveness to one another, and not only to one another, but in the front of our children. We know we're not perfect. We know we're going to make mistakes. We know we're going to say some things that are going to hurt each other's feelings, as long as we are respectful. And then we ask each other forgiveness in the context of that, of the family dynamics. Now, in this case, the sister could return the car title and work towards rebuilding trust by committing to honesty and transparency in her action moving forward. And the verse addresses this in James 4, addressing eternal battles, and choosing forgiveness can lead to peace and reconciliation. Axiom number 6. Communication without boundaries is chaos. Communication without boundaries is chaos. Open communication is vital, but it must be paired with boundaries to avoid enabling harmful behavior. For example, lending money should come with clear payment terms and consequences. The verse that comes to mind regarding this axiom is this: Proverbs 25, verse 28. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Let me explain as we go through to offer 3 solutions to this family situation. The first solution is this: define clear communication boundaries. Establish a clear guideline for communication within the family to ensure mutual respect and structure in discussion. Agree that sensitive topics such as finance will only be discussed during planned family meetings rather than in a heated moment. Right? The benefit of this is this approach prevents impulsive reaction and creates a safe environment for productive conversation. Now, going back to the proverb that we just read, is that just as walls protect the city, boundaries in communication protect relationship from becoming chaotic or destructive. Solution number two is this: set terms and consequences for agreement. When making commitments, such as lending money or any other lending, document the terms and consequences for unmet obligation. Don't just speak it out, but you gotta write it down. Write those terms down, and both parties should have those terms with each other, so that when it comes to a time at the end where the lending is finished, you can wrap it up and celebrate. For example, if lending money, establish a payment plan with specific deadlines. Clarify the consequences if the terms are not met, such as holding further financial support. The benefit of this is this creates accountability and reduces misunderstanding in your relationship. A lack of boundary, remember in the Proverbs 25, a lack of boundary is like a broken wall, leaving relationship vulnerable to misuse and conflict. The first solution is practice self-control in emotional conversation. Practice self-control in emotional conversations. Commit to pursuing and reflecting before responding during emotional discussions to prevent escalating conflicts. And this is where the mature and the older, well, hopefully the older and mature need to play a role, where we not ourselves practice self-control, but also encourage and teach that to our children. Now, use techniques such as a 24-hour pause rule for addressing major issues or writing down thoughts before discussing them. And I think that's a great idea, where you get to go away for a bit on your own, and write down your thoughts and express your emotions through paper before you come back and discuss these ideas. So the benefit of this is to ensure that emotions do not drive communication. Wisdom. That's why you need to pause and write your thoughts down, because you want wisdom and understanding to drive your communication. And the result of that is unity and understanding and clarity and great relationship. Axiom number 7. Accountability is a family value, not an option. Accountability is a family value, not an option. Families thrive when each member holds himself accountable to their action. This prevents a cycle of blame and fosters mutual respect. A verse that comes to mind is Galatians 6:7, where it says, "Do not be deceived," right? God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows, or a man or woman reaps what he sows. There are 3 solutions that I can provide for this family here right now. Number 1, establish a family code of conduct. This is excellent value in terms of communication, to build healthy communication within your family. Create a set of shared values and expectations that every family member agrees to follow. And you remind one another over time. And these values will become habits for you. This family could agree on principles like honesty, reliability, and following through on commitments. The benefits of this is shared understanding fosters accountability and sets a standard for behavior. Now, Galatians 7 reminds us that actions have consequences. A family code of conduct ensures those consequences align with shared family values. Number 2, create regular accountability check-in. This is important, especially if you have boys. Schedule family meetings to discuss progress on commitment, address concern, and celebrate successes. A family meeting could include updates on financial responsibility, chore completion, or resolving conflicts. Now, regular checks-in encourage everyone to stay accountable and work towards personal and family goals. The connection to the verse that we just read said these check-ins reinforce the principle of reaping what you sow, encouraging responsibility for actions and outcome. Number 3, model accountability as a leader. For every parent or any older sibling, model accountability as a leader to the younger members of the family. Parents or family leaders should model accountability by acknowledging their own mistakes. That's a great way of modeling accountability. Admit your own mistakes and demonstrate a willingness to make amends. If a parent misses a commitment, they can openly apologize and explain how they will address it moving forward. The benefit of this is this sets an example for children and other family members to follow, creating a culture of mutual respect. The connection to Galatians 6 is that it emphasizes personal responsibility. Leaders modeling accountability show the family how to employ this value. Axiom number 8. The currency of relationships is reciprocity. The currency of relationships is reciprocity. Now, social exchange theory highlights the importance of mutual give and take within the relationship. When one party consistently gives while the other only takes, the imbalance erodes trust and respect over time. The verse that springs to mind is Luke 6:38. Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. 3 solutions that we can offer this family dynamic in relationship. Number 1, assess the balance in the relationship. Take time to think over the balance of your relationships. Encourage both parties to reflect on their contribution and expectation within the relationship. Often I would encourage my sons, hey, this is one way, tidying your room, tidying your bed, doing well at school. This is how you contribute to the relationship in our families. Now, an example in this family is ask, or your family, ask each person to list ways they give to and receive from the other. This helps identify balance and areas of improvement. Benefit: self-awareness foster mutual understanding and a more equitable relationship. This is self-awareness is, where wisdom comes in, where you are aware of what's going on of yourself and you're aware of what the other person needs and should be given. The verse that we talked about in Luke 6 reminds us that giving generously results in receiving abundantly. Emphasizing the need for balance is giving and receiving. That's important, the balance between giving and receiving. Number 2, establish clear expectation for reciprocity. Define specific ways each person can contribute to the relationship, ensuring both parties feel value and respect. And from time to time, you check these values. and ensure that everybody is receiving and giving and contributing to the relationship. If one person consistently provides emotional support, the other could reciprocate by helping with practical tasks or being available during tough times. Often I see relationships, or as a pastor in my former life, where one partner is complaining that they're doing everything at home, work and doing everything, while the other partner is not contributing. And that's an imbalance of giving and receiving within the family. Now, the benefit of being clear between having a balance of giving and receiving is clear expectation prevent resentment and build trust. So when you're giving and you're receiving and you're using your wisdom to contribute to your relationship, it really prevents resentment and builds trust. And resentment and mistrust and miscommunication really are the bigger problem in relationship. The verse that we looked at in Luke is that the measure you give will be the measure you receive, emphasizing the need for intentional and a reciprocal action. Number 3, celebrate acts of giving and receiving. Now, this is where my wife comes in, where she celebrates any acts of giving that the boys or myself provide for her. She really celebrates that every day. Now, regularly acknowledge and appreciate the contribution of the other person to reinforce positive behaviors. It's a great way to create an atmosphere of positivity and accountability and give and take within the family when you acknowledge and appreciate the contribution from each members of your family. Express gratitude for specific action, such as saying thank you for listening when I needed support. It means a lot to me. I have to say my older son does this really well. He responds well, and he takes times, although slowly, but when he does, he gives a heartfelt thank you for anything that we do for him. Now, celebrating reciprocity strengthens bond and encourage ongoing mutual effort. And the verse that we talked about is that generosity in giving is met with blessings in return, creating a cycle of appreciation and reciprocity. Now, in closing, Luke 6 tells us here that teaches us the power of reciprocity in relationship. When we give generously and receive with gratitude, we create a cycle of trust, respect, and mutual benefit. So by assessing balance, setting clear expectation, and celebrating contribution, relationship can thrive on a currency of reciprocity. And welcome to axiom number 9. Emotional health begins with honest conversations. Emotional health begins with honest conversation. Addressing tough issues head on, such as unmet expectations or feelings of betrayal, allows families to process emotions constructively instead of letting resentment fester. I like that scripture in Ephesians 4:25 that says, "Therefore each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbors, for we are all members of one body." And there are 3 solutions from that verse for these axioms that we can offer this family. Number 1, create a safe place for honesty or for honest dialogue. Right? Set aside dedicated time and neutral environment where family members can share feelings openly without fear or judgment or retaliation. That's important. Begin the conversation by stating the intent to listen and understand, such as, "I would like us to talk about what's been on our minds so we can move forward together." Benefit. A safe space that creates a safe space and encourages vulnerability and fosters trust within your relationship. Ephesians 4:25 emphasizes truthfulness, which can only occur in an environment where honesty is met with compassion. Number 2, use I statement to express emotions. Now, teach family members to express their feelings using I statements to reduce defensiveness and focus on personal emotions rather than blame. Instead of saying, "You never listened to me," say instead, I feel unheard when I try to share my thoughts, and it's important to me that we communicate better." This approach keeps the conversation constructive and centered on resolving the issues. Speaking truthfully, as we're reminded in the verse in the scripture that we spoke about, includes expressing emotions clearly and kindly, reflecting Christ-like communication. Number 3, follow up with actionable steps. Conclude the conversation with agreeing on specific steps to address the concern raised, whether they're a big step or whether they're small step. I suggest in the developing trust within a family, begin with attainable steps, small steps that everybody can attain. For example, if one family member feels excluded, agree to schedule regular family check-ins or share activities to strengthen the bond. Taking action prevents the conversation from becoming mere talk and demonstrates commitment to growth. Speaking truthfully is only effective when paired with a willingness to act on what has been shared. So overall, in this axiom, Ephesians 4:25 reminds us that honest conversation are the foundation of emotional health in relationships. Axiom number 10, conflict is inevitable, but destruction is not. Conflict is inevitable, but destruction is not. So every family faces conflict, but how it's managed determines whether relationships grow or disintegrate. Constructive communication and shared accountability can transform even painful conflicts into opportunities for growth. This family has an opportunity to turn this conflict into growth. Proverbs 15 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Harsh word stirs up anger. Now, there are 3 solutions we can provide for this family. Number 1, approach conflict with a calm and constructive mindset. Right? Parents need to train family members to pause and reflect before responding to conflict. Encourage taking deep breaths or stepping away temporarily to avoid reacting in anger. We gotta calm our emotions down. This is not about a win or lose. This is about making sure relationships are intact. Example, if an argument arises, agree to reconvene after a cooling off period, ensuring the discussion remains respectful. And I think that's the goal to keep in mind within family relationship, making sure that our communication is respectful. When it's no longer respectful, then you got to take a cooling off period. The benefit when you do that is this prevents escalation and keeps communication focused on resolution. Proverbs 15 told us that highlights the power of gentle responses in diffusing tension and steering conflicts towards constructive outcomes. Make that your goal. The second solution is focus on resolving the issue, not assigning blame. Focus your energy on resolving the issue. That's the puzzle. That's the joy in your relationship, and is to resolve that issue. And don't worry about the blame. Action. Receive conversations from shift conversations. From who's at fault to how can we fix this together. Okay. Now that we know what the problem is, let's work on the solution. Use problem-solving techniques to collaboratively find solutions. If siblings are arguing over inheritance, encourage each party to share their perspective and work together to create a fair solution. The benefit is that this approach fosters teamwork and reduces resentment. Gentle, as the verse encourages, gentle and solution-oriented communication aligns with the wisdom of avoiding harshness that stirs up anger. The first solution is establish family ground rules for handling conflicts. Develop and agree on ground rules for resolving conflicts, such as listening actively, not interrupting, and avoiding personal attack. Example is during disagreement, we will focus on the issue at hand and avoid bringing up past conflicts. Often, as a pastor in my former life, this is what I had to do. I had to place myself in the middle and making sure that the issue at hand is discussed and talked about and to provide solution, but avoiding past conflict. Now, the benefit is that when ground rules provide structure and ensure conflicts are addressed productively. Even in the church level, as a church in the past former life, I mentioned the church that my number one priority is unity, and everybody knew, everybody should know that. And whenever there's a church meeting or there's or counseling or walking with couples or people in a stressful relationship, I've always reminded them that the goal at hand is unity in the glory of God. Now, setting boundaries, as this verse encouraged us in Proverbs 15, around how to engage in conflict encourages gentleness and prevents unnecessary strife. So overall, Proverbs 15 in that first verse reminds us that conflict doesn't have to lead to destruction. With calm responses, a focus on solution, and agreed upon ground rules, families can navigate disagreements in ways that strengthen their relationship. Conflict can become a stepping stone for growth when approached with wisdom and love.